Hello, this is Yannis from Any Repair. Today we'll go through a gaming laptop repair that is very interesting, so stay with us till the end. We will do advanced diagnostics. We will justify our decisions about fault finding and notebook repair techniques. So stay with us till the end. Let's go and see how we'll deal with this. That is the notebook. It is on our desk. We will do some diagnostic measurements at first. We must remove the battery, of course, because with battery we cannot have any real measurements because in a lot of coils the current and the voltage will pass. So without the battery we're testing the main rail, which is low. As you can see, it is I'm measuring in a buck converter. The upper MOSFET has some capacitors that are filtering. You can see that we are having 0030 voltage drop on the main rail. That's bad news because we are having a short to a secondary rail. It is a main rail short to a secondary rail, not a main rail short to ground, as we are wishing that we are having. And you can see that this coil is dead short on the main rail. So we must remove the motherboard and check without the heatsink, because this is the way to check the coil for shorts without the heatsink covering the GPU and maybe the coil. The proper way is to remove the board and check it without the peripherals and all these cables on our desk, without the SSD drive, without the hard drive, without the heatsink, the fans, all these things that may do this diagnostic procedure difficult. So we are removing the board, the screws. In order to check what we must check the main rail short to a secondary rail. It is different main rail short to ground because this should be a capacitor that was shorting. This is a different situation. This is a main rail short to a secondary rail, and this secondary rail maybe it's something related with the GPU, and this is bad. You know, if the upper MOSFET in a buck converter gets short, will pass the load to the coil, and the coil will pass the load, this voltage, to the load. The load, it is the VRAM, the GPU, whatever it feeds. So we will also remove the heatsink in order to find which secondary rail is shorted to our main rail. And now we will check this coil that is brown from the short, I think. We will check for ohms to the ground, and we are having 0.25 ohms to the ground, so this load is shorted, and this is what we are getting in our main rail. So we must remove the MOSFET, this dual MOSFET, and check if the main rail is released from the short, which I think it will be the cause of this main rail to a secondary rail sorting. And now we must remove this MOSFET, this dual MOSFET, and check if the short of the main rail is gone or not. We are using our tweezer. A lot of heat with from our heat gun and a lot of air because these boards are very heat resistant. The MOSFET is gone. And now we must check for the sorting. The sorting of the coil, of course, it's not clear. We don't want obviously to check the MOSFET for sorting, but I'm doing so. What we want to check is that if the main rail is clean from shorts, and that's it. What I'm doing now. I'm checking for main rail short on this capacitor because it is feeding. This is the ground and this is the main rail. So we're clean from shorts. You can see it. So the main rail is released from the secondary rail. But we are having bad news about the GPU and the VRAMs because the ohm value of the coil is not as expected. It's very low. So we must check and see if we are having any display from the i7 graphics, internal graphics of the CPU. I'm double checking the value of the ohms for this coil, which is very low, and it should be about some tenths of ohms. I don't know if I'm saying right because it could be 30, 40, 50 ohms, and it's not. So we will inject some voltage on this coil in order to make something heat up. And what it will be heated, it will be the culprit. So we will inject about 0.9 volts or something like that in order to see what is heating up. I am adjusting the voltage accordingly. 0.95, it's good for testing this coil, for injecting voltage to this coil. I will switch to the thermal camera after I plug the voltage, my charger on this DC jack. And now it's time to switch to our thermal camera. Okay. We're not having any results of something heating up. This something that is heating up, I think it's our DC cable, our positive wire, that's injecting the voltage to the coil. You can see it. So it is something that we cannot figure out with our thermal camera. As you can see, the cable is getting hot. So we must do something else. What we must do is to power on the mainboard in order to check for voltages or some activity to the coils or if we are getting any power on the board. And after that, we must check if we are having display from our processor. Now I'm trying to power on the mainboard and it is powered on by my multimeter. It is powering on, we are having a white light, and this is the point when we must place the motherboard back on its chassis and see if we are having any activity, maybe display or something to the notebook or something, if we're having any keyboard LED code, because we are talking about HP. So what I will plug is I will plug the EDP cable. I will plug the keyboard and check if we're having any progress. Okay, it is connected. The keyboard is connected. We will power on the board. And you can see that we're having blink code. It is 3 slow and 3 quick blinking, which is addressing us RAM issue. That's good, we can change the RAM. But it is not the RAM, of course. We have changed. You can see that the RAM we are having on our left, it's been changed, but the code is the same. So what we must do is to release the coil of this sorting, because sorted components must be removed from the board, and doing likewise, we will remove the heatsink, and we will use our preheater and heat gun to remove whatever we are thinking that is sorting. So let's proceed. Our preheater is in place, our board is on it, so we will remove our first suspect, the first piece of VRAM that is closer to the coil. We will remove it using our heat gun in 400 degrees Celsius. Our preheater is 115 Celsius for the bottom side, in order to make our job easier. The VRAM is removed, the first one. We will check if something is changed on the coil, but first we must clean the pads of the VRAM, because maybe 2 BGA pads, if are sorting together with a solder ball on them, will be a problem. So we're cleaning the pads in order to have a proper measurement on the coil. And now, using our multimeter, we check for any sorting on the coil. Okay. It is very low. So this is not a good sign. We must continue removing the second VRAM chip, and so on. So we will go very fast To remove the second VRAM, we will go and remove the second VRAM using the hot air gun and our preheater. We'll clean up the pads for having no sorting on the BGA pads, just to be sure. We will check again for sorting. The sorting is present. It's not the heat of the board that is making this sorting. We will leave a little bit the mainboard to cool itself without touching the preheater. But I think we are not good. We are having a low resistance, which is not a proper one. We should have about 50 ohms, and we are having 0.5 or something like that, which is not good. So we will continue to remove the other VRAMs. The preheater is in place. We are heating up the fourth VRAM IC. We will remove it and we will continue to the next one. The third, we'll remove it. And after we clean the pads, we will check for sorting too, as we did with the other chips. Cleaning the pads is essential for not sorting any pads together. And now it is the time to check for sorting on the coil. And since the sorting is present, we will assume that the BGA is faulty. The GPU is faulty, the BGA IC, the big one. We will find a similar board view in order for you to see the connection between the GPU and the VRAMs. It is a similar one, it is not the same. You can see that the VRAMs are sharing the connection between the coil and the GPU. So the culprit is the VRAM and must be removed too. Let's go and remove it. But first, we will check for the VRAM ICs. We are having the DDR5 ICs datasheet. You can call it a datasheet. This is the map of the VCC and the ground and some data lines that are connecting the VRAM to the board. We are having the IC and the pads. You can see it. We are having the IC on the one side, and the other side we are having the pads view. So we will check the VRAM and we will check on the pads if we are having any short. This is done because we want to ensure that no VRAM is sorting, and maybe we can use it again. That's the way to use it again. If it is not sorting, the first test is passed. So we have no short on the ground and the power supply. On the second, the first, on the second. The third chip too is good on the power supply and the ground. The fourth chip is good too. So to ensure that this power rail was dropping its resistance to ground from the GPU, we will test now the exact pads on the board. So let's go in microscope view and check the GPU. Over the GPU are the place of the VRAMs, and we will test the points of the power supply and the ground is connecting to any of the VRAM ICs. And we will do likewise, put our probes on the ground and power supply and check the ohm resistance, the ohm value. As you can see, it's the same. It's very low, so the GPU is the culprit and must be removed. We are having the board on our preheater in order to remove the GPU. And we will heat up the GPU. We don't want to rip any pads. We will remove the silicone sealant from the corners. Maybe our customer wants to replace the GPU and the VRAMs. If they are working, we will place the same after being reballed. We're removing the silicone sealant from the corners in order for the GPU to be lifted with our tweezers properly. And remove the silicone sealant and the GPU afterwards. We're trying not to rip any pad. We'll try to be gentle with the GPU. The GPU is faulty. We're adding some flux. And with our heat gun in 400 Celsius, we are removing, with the help of our preheater, the GPU. When we poke the chip and it is moving, we can lift it with our tweezer. I think now it's the time for the chip to be lifted. And okay, it is lifted. Now we must clean up the pads in order to check for shorting on the coil. I think the coil will be free of shorts because the load is removed from it. And now we will remove the preheater and check if there is any shorting. We will use our multimeter, but first let's clean up a bit and cool the motherboard in order to be measured properly. Now you see the resistance is very, very high, as it should be. And this GPU is for the trash. And this GPU was the culprit, the fault of this motherboard. Now we are going to plug the motherboard back and check if we are having any different conclusion, if something will be powered on properly, if we are having a display or a LED code. from the keyboard or something. We're placing back the motherboard on its chassis. We're plugging the EDP cable and the keyboard connector, and we will power on using a pad on the CPU. We're powering on, but nothing happens. The same code, the same error code with 3 blinks, fast and 3 slow. We're taking the original charger and testing again. Maybe you can see that we're having blink code. And after we have determined that the blink code refers to the RAM, we thought that we should restore the voltage of the coil, because with no MOSFET on it, we cannot have any voltage on the VDDQ of the GPU. So we have placed another MOSFET, a similar one, not the exact one. As you can see, it is 6996, and we have placed an 6994, but it's good because we have no load. This coil is feeding the VRAM and the GPU that are absent from the board. So we will be good for producing this power. And who knows, maybe the blinks are referred to the VRAM, not the RAM stick that is placed on the RAM slot. So let's go and see. We will plug our charger. The pad of the CPU, the thermal pad, is placed because the CPU is having voltage and is working. So we will plug and press the power button. More voltage, you can see it. We have a proper voltage now. And if you can see, we're having letters. We are having HP ensuring that we are having no fan installed on the motherboard. And it's right. So this problem, after finding the sorting components, we should fulfill the requirements of the VRAM, although it is removed. Every time we're learning something different. That was the repair as you saw. If you liked this video, consider like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching. See you in another repair. Bye.